Alright, so this is my 2005 Yamaha WR450. I just put a dual sport kit on it that I got from Tusk, T-U-S-K. And I got that at RockyMountainATV.com, I think is where I got that from. I bought the full kit that had the hand guards and LED turn signals and the hand guards, that kind of stuff. I ended up not needing the fender assembly because I just converted the original equipment one. It was pretty simple, so I'm just going to sell that extra part. If I had to do it again, I would buy the kit with just exactly the parts that I needed. So I'm just going to do a quick walk around and show you what I did. It's not a bad conversion. I took extra time. It took me a couple days, but I really took my time to make sure that everything was done exactly right, and greased everything, siliconed everything, so that I won't have to deal with it for a long time as far as fixing it. So, on the front, I bought as part of the kit these plastic hand guards. They have LED turn signals built in. The original mounts I thought were kind of flimsy, so I ended up getting the Tusk wraparound hand guards as a separate purchase, which I'm pleased with it. The flexible hand guards fit right on it with these screws right here, so it's pretty simple to mount them. I also got the optional front brake switch. So you take the banjo bolt out, you put in a bolt that's got a pressure sensing device in it. You can see the two wires coming out of it. It's really tight as far as clearance, but it works, and it's really pretty simple. Just take your time. So I don't think there's anything else on this side of the handlebars. No, everything else stayed the same. Obviously, to put the wraparound handguard on, I had to cut the end of the grip off to make sure that I had room to get the plug in there, and then I left it a little bit short, so you can see there's a little bit of play, so I don't have to worry about binding problems. I did mount the horn here using just one of the pinch bolts on the upper fork tube. No big deal. You can see through the opening here, mounted to the brace, one of the brace bolts that were there already. I mounted the turn signal flasher. I used the OEM headlight, and I left the OEM headlight wired in the original harness. Everything else I went off of the Tusk harness, but for the headlight, since it's so critical, I didn't want it to break into it if I didn't have to, knowing that that's the one thing I wouldn't want to have a failure problem with because of bad connection or something. So I left that alone. I wound up all my wires and put them behind the headlight bucket. No big deal. On this side, we had to use trial and error a couple times to get everything to fit. You got the OEM stop switch. You got a master on-off, so everything except the headlight is now powered off of this master on-off switch. So if I turn this on, that's going to make like the tail light, the brake light, the turn signals, they'll all operate. The horn will operate. So on this switch assembly that came with the Tusk setup, what I'm not using is this high, low, and off for the headlight. That part of the harness I didn't use. I just left the master headlight connection that was there already. For the hot start, or the decompression rather, I bought half-inch aluminum standoffs, and I just bought longer versions of the correct size screw to step this up, because when you pull the trigger, you can see that if this was sitting down a half-inch lower, this trigger assembly would be hitting the switch. So to get rid of that, it was pretty simple. And with the, with hand guards and everything, you can't even see it. It's not in your way or anything. So that was a simple fix. I didn't have to get a longer cable or anything. I got plenty of clearance. And the same mounting deal on this side that I did on the other. One thing that was nice about the mounts that came with this Tusk wraparound handguard is it's a compound assembly. So you've got a joint here, and you've got a joint here, and then you've got a joint here. So you can adjust it around pretty good. Same thing on the other side. Now what I did have to do, you can't tell in the picture, but this part of the cable or the clamp assembly, I took that off and I ground it out to make room for this brake line, because no matter how I got it adjusted, there was always just a little bit too much of a interference fit. So I ground a smooth spot where that profile is a square. I ground it out to where it's smooth and in line with its brake line. So I don't think that over time it's going to cut it. I was just concerned with the square edge that was on the original aluminum mount, that vibration would eventually cut its way through this jack and into the hose. But I tried mounting the hose lower. I tried mounting the hose upside down and raising the handguards and lowering the handguards, and nothing would get as good a result as that right there. So that's what I ended up going with, and I'm satisfied with it. See, what else can I tell you? Oh, on this side, as far as the wiring, all the original wires, connections are here anyways, up in the top. That's the original connectors. So I ran the auxiliary harness that came with the Tusk assembly right here and up in there. So I took the tank off, took the shrouds off, took the seat off, and I ran the line, side by side with the original harness right down the frame and tie wrapped them. And then I ran them up and alongside the airbox, and then brought it over to the center, tied off, and then I have the slack coming back over to where the battery is. Now for back here, I actually lucked out, because this original taillight assembly, it is a dual filament bulb, and it already had both the wires there. They connected to the original harness. So that's the original harness wire running there through the fender. I used that, and where that came out over here, I cut it off, and then the end from the original harness coming back to the taillight, I put shrink tube on that, sealed that up, and just closed that end off. And then where the two wires or three wires came out of the original headlight or taillight assembly, I put bullet connectors on that, and I put bullet connectors on the back of the Tusk assembly, because the original end of the assembly and the taillight had a modular connector on it. So I didn't want that anymore. I put bullet connectors on it. It works out great. And then these turn signals are just stick-on. So you got, let me back off a little bit. It's foam tape, two-sided sticky. I wish it had a screw in it. I looked and I took this apart to try to figure out how to put a screw in it, and it looked like it was going to be a little hokey. So I figured I'll try it and we'll see how it works. And if I have to fix it, I'll figure out how to put a screw in it. It is kind of disappointing that it didn't have a stud mount for the screw, but so I cleaned the fender off good. I drilled a hole through it, ran the wire in. I put the two-sided mount on, and then I siliconed around the outside of it, because this is open cell foam, it looks like, and I wanted to keep mud and water and that kind of stuff from getting in the foam itself. So I siliconed it all the way around, and siliconed this shield, clear shield. Those are LED lights, so vibration should be good, and even if it does get water in it, it shouldn't blow the lights anyways. Same thing on the other side, where I could, you can see the second wire here that I have from that turn signal. I just ran it up under the original clamp, right through the fender hole that was there already. On this side, I drilled a hole and siliconed it, and I put the wire in just a piece of scrap tubing that I had, plastic tubing, to protect it in case big rocks come off the back fender or something and hit it. I was afraid it'd pinch that relatively fine wire. So it's got the heavy shield over it now, and I siliconed both ends, and I ran silicone along it, top and bottom, to just kind of stick it to the fender. So we'll see how that holds up. I think it'll be alright though. And while I'm here, there's my license plate mount. It's my prototype. I'll make another one out of stainless for long term. And then just like we had the brake switch on the front, here's the brake switch for the back. Just take the original banjo bolt out, put this pressure sensing bolt in. I ran the wires along the frame rail, tie wrapped it on, and then ran it inside, and we're good to go. So I'm eager to get it out and run it. I've had it out on the street a little bit just to make sure that everything works right. In a couple of weeks we'll go for a long ride. So if you're considering doing that dual sport kit conversion on a WR, it's actually pretty straightforward, and so far I'm happy with the results. Probably the thing that I'm most concerned about is this switch assembly. These two switch assemblies, they to me it looks like they'd be fine for the street. I'm a little concerned about them being in muddy conditions where giant glops of oatmeal are being thrown on them, basically. Because if you look at the tops, they're not sealed. The original switches have rubber boots on them, and the back is sealed. And I'm just concerned that these are not going to be able to take the kind of abuse that the OEM stuff was meant to do with boots on it. So I put sealant on it, stuff like that, on the back side of the switch where the wiring is, where the actual actuating devices are. So we'll see. I'll probably, just to be safe, I'll probably wrap like saran wrap around or something when I go ride, just to keep the biggest of the stuff off of it, as long as I don't actually throw the bike in a mud puddle or something. That would pretty much keep all the mud off of it. I'll probably just do that to be sure. Okay? Good luck.